Boomers, Zoomers, Generation Alpha. Everybody has their thoughts of which generation is the worst, but when it comes to posting online, nobody comes close to touching the millennials. Whether it's being very excited that Taylor Swift is allowed to be small girl, pausing before speaking to the camera, or whatever the hell this is, millennials have built a reputation for themselves online as being unashamedly themselves. And surprisingly, that actually might not be a good thing. Millennials are the internet's least favorite generation. And yeah, a lot of it is kind of deserved, but what? You think this video is just gonna be a millennial hit piece? Oh, no. This isn't just about them. Because Gen Z, you guys are on thin ice, pal. You're a lot closer to your cringy cousins than you might think. But more on that later. Every generation believes that the generation before them is outdated and the generation after them is lazy, and that they are actually the last good generation. All the other times that generations said this in the past, that was just a coincidence. This time it's for real. The only difference is that with millennials, they were the first ones to be given the stage that we know as the internet. Millennials weren't the first generation to have access to the internet, but they certainly were the first generation to have a solid grasp of the internet the way that we use it today. They pioneered using the World Wide Web as a social hangout spot, a place to join a fandom so that they could feel like they're part of a community, and much to our disdain, a personal diary where they would overshare a lot without any fear of repercussions from others. Because said others were either too young or too old to inhabit the same spaces that they were involved in. Unfortunately for them, this did not remain the norm, as older generations reluctantly got online and younger generations grew into the cybersphere. Slowly but surely, the consensus that these guys are kinda cringe, bro, came to fruition. Millennials were okay with expressing their emotions and wholeheartedly liking things, openly and unashamedly. And I don't know if you know this, but the internet hates that. And most of the time, I'd be completely against that. You should be allowed to be yourself on the internet. But when yourself is this, maybe it's for the best if you just didn't say anything online anymore, buddy. Through the combination of supernatural discourse, BuzzFeed articles on why adulting is actually very hard for a dink couple with 3 doggo fur babies to overcome, and making their special interest your problem, the internet began garnering a sense of disdain for the generation kinda as a whole. Where previous generations will omit discussing their personal feelings and younger generations will shroud any sort of emotional commentary in several layers of meta irony, millennials are direct and clear with how they feel on social media, earnestly proving this in anything that they say or write. You don't need to read between the lines or have an English degree to understand what they're saying.
Get it?
You understand what they're saying very quickly. Millennials are not just fans of things, they are diligent defenders of them. Whether it is Homestuck, Steven Universe, or Doctor Who, these avid enjoyers stand on the front lines supporting their fandoms till their last breath, which ultimately is a good thing. You should be supporting the things that you enjoy. A consistent theme in life is that as older generations get older and die out, the younger generations will inevitably take their place. And this is happening as we speak. As older generations of professionals are slowly retiring, these younger, more internet-brained people are slowly filling their roles. And one of these places where it's very clearly beginning to happen is the writer's room. Initially coined as such by a YouTuber, Shredded Nerd, millennial writing is very millennial. For example,
crap, shit, crap, goddamn shit, crap, son of a bitch ass, wipe, piss, wipe, crap, and crap.
It's not the love of Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's not the wearing of skinny jeans. It's the overall tone of writing in media that has bled its way from Tumblr into the mainstream. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, so that just happened. Well, I guess I just did a thing. Please stop letting this dialogue from ever being used again in media. I can't handle this level of chungus anymore. Don't you see what Gen Z is saying about you guys online? Don't you have any shame at all? You see it in traditional media, you see it in video games. Wherever it manages to land, it will undoubtedly ruin the day of anyone nearby. Unless you're a millennial, then you probably think this stuff is hilarious. Whether it's Life is Strange or Borderlands, I think we can all come to the correlation that, yeah, this stuff is, it's kind of cringe, man. It's filled with self-inserts, the obnoxious need to have every second word be some sort of profanity, and quippy one-liners that are so relatable and funny.
Hang on, did you just shift reality?
This sarcastic, ironic, crass style of writing has been around for longer than you think, too. Look at the original Borderlands. Look at Portal. The difference between the writing in those games and the writing that we're seeing in a lot of media these days is that those games came out when that type of humor was more relevant. It aligned with the rage comics and quirky memes of the time. Not that it makes the writing any more funny or bearable, but at least it made more sense. It's all trying so hard to be relatable, yet annoying. It's like it's trying to garner social credit or updates from other millennials, because who else enjoys this type of writing? I don't know. Everything is a joke, but absolutely none of it is actually funny. That's what defines millennial writing more than anything. Also, I will say that calling it millennial writing is obviously being a bit dramatic, because this is encapsulating everything that the generation as a whole is writing, which obviously isn't the case, but hey man, so is everything else in this video. I see people online refer to this style of writing also as Wheaton writing after Joss Wheaton, or Marvel writing, which are kind of synonymous, but pretty fitting, honestly. But you know what? I'm gonna keep calling it millennial writing, because it's my YouTube video. I get to decide which group gets generalized. What are you gonna do about it, huh? Beat me up? Take my lunch money? Give me a swirly? Spank my bare bottom? Have you been reading my diary or something? It's trying way too hard to seem like it's not trying hard at all. And that's ultimately what makes it so damn cringe. And when it comes to crying cringe, nobody is as quick to scream it as our good friends, Generation Z. You might think that I, as a member of Gen Z, hate millennials, huh? Well, guess what, buddy? You're wrong. For the most part. Yeah, I just harped on millennials for being cringe and lame, but I think it's pretty plain to see that Gen Z has its fair share of problems as well. Gen Z saw the way in which millennials posted carelessly online, got flamed accordingly, and then drastically corrected themselves in correlation. Where millennials will post whatever they deem as freaking Rafflecopter worthy, Gen Z does the opposite. They think before posting online, for the most part. Every joke is shrouded in layers of irony and plausible deniability, because, hey, if that joke I just made was received as a microaggression against you and your polycule, I'm sorry, but you're actually making me feel quite attacked right now, so if you keep this up, I might have to post a twit longer about you. So yeah, watch it. Gen Z has in-jokes, nonsensical memes, and performative activism. They're all about building up an online persona that is the coolest, most nonchalant, yet non-offensive character on the internet. And obviously, that can also be annoying. But because they are the current rulers of the internet, they're naturally gonna be the most heard voice when it comes to modern online discourse. So of course they're gonna be roasting millennials online. They're pushing the blazing cringe spotlight off of themselves onto the next closest group. And that group just so happens to have years and years of backlogged posts that can either be called out for being insensitive, bigoted, or yeah, cringe. The youth always defines the culture of the times. Millennials were rocking finger mustaches with scene haircuts, all while listening to Ocean Eyes by Owl City that they had downloaded off of Napster. That's the real problem here. Kids these days don't even know how to work a goddamn torrent client. If you didn't accidentally brick your parents' computer by downloading Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites.exe, that's not an audio file. Oopsies! Off of LimeWire. Don't even frickin' talk to me, dude. Of course the younger generations are going to look at this stuff that they didn't grow up with and be like, that's kind of weird. Because most of the time, it kind of is. And I love Owl City. Don't you get it twisted. We all have our flaws. One man's cringe is another man's brain rot. Gen Z was not the first generation to think that the previous one was lame. Oh, they certainly were not. The thing is that every generation thinks that they are the last normal generation. This is a fact that nobody can escape. Boomers truly believe that they're the last hardworking generation ever. Gen X thinks that art peaked with them and every new band sucks because nobody really rocks anymore, man. And Gen Alpha thinks that everyone above the age of 17 is geriatric. The thing you need to understand is that the real problem isn't millennials being cringe or Gen Z being too hyper online, it's visibility. Everyone has an audience now. The more that you post, the more likely you are to have eyes on you. Clearly, millennials learned this too late, whereas Gen Z learned this even before posting on social media for the first time. Millennials aren't the worst generation. They're not even the most annoying generation. I'm looking at you, boomers. Don't talk to me about being lazy. When you were able to buy your first house at age 18 after working 10 months as a milkman. No, every generation has their fair share of flaws, and also generations aren't even set in stone, man. Not every single person from a generation is the exact same as the next. And don't even get me started on micro generations. Some of you might call me a zillennial. If we're talking like basic tropes of these generations, I don't fully relate to either of the two that I'm sandwiched between. I grew up with Tamagotchis, Beyblades, Smosh, and dubstep. Those are my cultural icons. Although millennials may have been brainwashed from years of psychoanalyzing Wattpad fanfiction, Gen Z has been institutionally cooked by mind-numbing algorithms. Because honestly, a BuzzFeed article titled "Why My Harry Potter Tattoo Is Still Valid Actually" is kinda just as bad as a TikTok about how the Ohio Riz incident was actually pretty insensitive to underprivileged communities. Millennials were the internet's guinea pigs. They posted cringe so that we could post gems. They had MySpace, flip phones, and nu metal. Gen Z had Instagram, smartphones, and hyperpop. And you know what? The same type of clowning is going to happen to Gen Z. Just as we have done to the millennials before us, Gen Z will inevitably become the next punching bag because the internet always needs a least favorite generation. Follow the Instagram, follow the Twitch, make sure to hit the updoot on the hecking wholesome subscribe button. This video is a little bit of a departure from the usual scheduled programming, and that's okay. I like to talk about anything and everything, and the next video might also be a little different, probably, but hang in there. More epic gamer content coming soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.